Hey, Aben here, Senator Jez. And I'm practicing this morning. I have a show coming up on Wednesday, the 30th of January, I believe, 2019. And that's going to be at Nightlight in Carborough, which is probably the place I've played most here in North Carolina. And this is for the 919 Noise group on Facebook. They have a showcase once a month, and I'm playing that. I've played that a couple of times already, and I always enjoy. I'm taking an experimental set out there, and I think it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be based on my guitar through some effects, and everything else is going to be on my iPad and be controlling everything dynamically. So I'm about to go through my live set and how I have it set up and how I'm going to be performing that night. But an interesting thought came to mind. This is the first guitar book I ever bought, the Guitar Handbook. Let me see, what's the copyright on this? I don't know what the copyright is. Hang on, we got this here. Okay, this was published in 1982. That was the year that I traded in my band saxophone that I never played because I hated band, and it sat there just sitting there. And so I traded it in on that Feinen that I have painted garishly blue with a big olive on it with the names of the Rat Pack all over it. Because why not? Still own that guitar, still play that guitar. But this is the first guitar book I ever bought to learn how to play guitar. And this thing is voluminous. It's to this day, this stands out as a great guitar book. But I often wonder, people say, who are your influences? And of course, if you watch me at all, you know, electronic-wise, Jean-Michel Jarre, Vangelis, Aphex Twin, Massive Attack, The Orb, Gary Newman. I wear my influences on my sleeve. But guitar, I generally say things like Jimmy Page, David Gilmour, Steve Vai, and numerous others. But I was thinking about it, and this wasn't too long ago. I picked up this book and was looking through it. And I realized that a lot of the things that I do guitar-wise are influenced by one thing, by one guy. And it just happens that it was the guy's profile page in this book that gave me those inclinations. See, I get ribbed a lot when I'm out playing live. First off, the synth guys rib on me because I play everything either in Ableton or on my iPad. I have a couple of hardware synths, small, cheap hardware synths. I am a software guy, and I push that because I want people to understand that this music is accessible to everybody, and it doesn't get more accessible than loading up quality apps on an iPad or having Ableton Live and having all this power at your fingertips. But I get ribbed by guitar guys too. Because I have my Expressive Infinity guitar, which even because it has an infinity mirror with lights, people say it's a toy. It's a synth controller that's a guitar. It's an awesome piece of kit, hand built by Rob O'Reilly in Ireland. It's awesome. If you have an extra $1,500 and you want a great controller for your synths, get one. But you know, I play an Epiphone Les Paul. I don't get ribbed about that much anymore because people have accepted that Epiphone is a good guitar. But my choice for pedals right now, a lot of people in my group, my close-knit group around here, are pedal heads. They love pedals. They'll go drop $300 on a boutique pedal or something. Whereas my rig is an RP50 that I bought in the 90s, Digitech RP50, an all-in-one multi-effects pedal, digital, from a long time ago, and a Behringer expression pedal, which I'm going to go through all this. I'm looking down there just so I can keep my memories going. It's how I make my sounds. And I'm along the lines of a few people out there. Graham Cochran comes to mind, trying to show people that you don't have to drop a lot of money to get great sounds, and how to utilize your equipment to its fullest to get every ounce of goodness out of it, rather than looking for another piece of kit to do something. I need that pedal because I need to do this. Wring that sound out of what you have. I need a new soft synth on my iPad because I need this sound. Take one of the soft synths you have, learn it to the point where you can make that sound out of it. I got started in podcasting back in the day, and people were like, "Your production is so great. How do you do it? You must use a Neumann mic or something." I'm like, "No, I use a Stag mic. I bought it off of eBay. It's like cheap." But I learned how to use my equipment to get a good sound out of it. Now I have better mics and better gear and things, but I started back in the day, even back then, just picking up what I could and just wringing every bit of sonic quality out of it. So what is it that in this book that I realize now makes this one man my overall guitar hero or inspiration? I'll tell you. It's Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa, sorry, put that over my mouth. Frank Zappa. And there's a couple of quotes in here from Zappa that I realize that I've based my entire musical career off of. One is, from the very beginning when I used to hear those solos on those old records, I used to say, now here's an instrument that is capable of spewing forth true obscenity. If ever there was an obscene noise to be made on an instrument, it's going to come out of a guitar. On a saxophone, you can play sleaze. On bass, you can play balls. But on a guitar, you can be truly obscene. Let's be realistic about this. The guitar can be the single most blasphemous device on the face of the earth. Hell yeah. That's why I like it. This disgusting stink of a too loud electric guitar, now that's my idea of a good time. And hell yes it is. But the quote, even more, that encapsulates the way I go on stage and the way I record is this. I think any device that's been manufactured for usage is worth messing around with, but I try to find applications for them that are unusual. The biggest challenge in making a record, though, is just trying to get the best possible sound from the instrument, to try to make the instruments sound as good as possible without flanging the piss out of them. That is how I do everything. I go and I get ribbed because I use devices that other guitarists consider amateur, too niche, not powerful enough, too goofy. And I proudly walk out on stage with this gear, and then I do my thing. And I do it in the studio here too. And it really does come from everything I read on this page about Frank Zappa back in the day. I in my 13-year-old head, I internalized all this, and I didn't even really realize until I revisited it just a little while back. Another thing is I consider myself a composer more than a performer. That's why I compose more than I perform. And he even brings this up here. Zappa himself has said that what differentiates him from the conventionally acclaimed guitar hero, of course, I'm not a guitar hero, he is, I'm not, is that he is primarily a composer who happens to be able to operate an instrument called a guitar. It's a great book. If you can pick it up, if you can find a used copy and get it, or if they have a new version, I do not know if they do. I still have my original old version. So, with that, let me show you what I'm going to be using on stage and how I'm going to be using it for my show on Wednesday. All right, there is my Epiphone guitar, my Epiphone Les Paul. I bought that in 1989, the first year they were made available. Had it ever since, much like my old Feinen over there, which is what I traded in my saxophone for, and, well, my Expressive Infinity from Robert O'Reilly. I love this guitar, and for this show, I'm not using my amp, I'm not using any amps. I'm going straight from my guitar to my Digitech RP50. Now they have the RP55. The differentiator is the RP50 was when they made it in the United States. They changed it to the RP55 when they started making it overseas. So this is an American-made Digitech product there, very much older than the RP55, but internally they use the same circuitry and things like that. Sorry, I keep slapping my own arm. And my Behringer pedal there, that is a volume pedal and an expression pedal. I am using it as an expression pedal to do the tremolo, whammy, and volume effects in the RP50. So that's that part. And on my table here that I'll be using, that will be running into the Focusrite iTrack dock into one channel in Audiobus 3, and then I will now get to showing you how this all works and show you the programs I'm using. Also, I will be using, well, my guitar, you all know what a pick is. You all know what a slide is. This is the Guitar Triller, and that is going to be playing a big part in how I do everything at the show. So, let me run through the iPad portion now. All right, so let's go over what I have in the iPad for the performance. So my first channel is my audio input. That's that's the guitar and the processed guitar coming through. In my next track, I have Groovebox by Amplify Novation, and I'm using that for my rhythms and for some backing tracks, but also to play live synths. I have Refraktions, which is a generative synthesizer, where you give it direction and then the AI spits out ambient sounds. It's actually a really cool amp. I'll show you how that works in a sec. And then Ripplemaker, which is a virtual modular synth, and I use that for some really cool ARPs and things like that through the show. So, well, we all know what audio input is, so let's look at Groovebox. So in Groovebox, I have 2 projects set for this. I have Skipping Stones for Venus Uno and Skipping Stones for Venus Dos. Just a cool name I thought to come up with. Nothing, means nothing. I have all of the tracks except for the Minimon. Muted. So the Minimon is a performance synth that I have in this set, and I also the Poly 8. As you can see, this one is polyphonic. The Minimon is monophonic. So now beyond that, I also have some background performance stuff in here. Like I have my rhythm, and I have a second Poly 8 to give some interesting chords. So then. So that is how I'm using Groovebox in this set. Now Refraktions, as I said, is it's a generative ambient synthesizer. So you have your synths over here, and this has an AI in it. So you give it commands, and then it builds ambient soundscapes based on what you input. And it's an 8-bar loop, and it'll evolve over time based on the information you give it. You can set it to scales, what have you. So you have your higher notes on this end, lower notes on this end. So as the 8-bar loop progresses, you give it commands, and it starts to learn what you want from it. So that's great in performances like this, where the ambient sounds don't have to be specific. You just have to have the sound bed, and this creates the sound bed, but it's creating a sound bed based on what I want the sound bed to sound like. So it's a really cool app like that. I'm probably not doing the best example of describing it here. And then Ripplemaker. As I said, it's a virtual modular synthesizer. It's been said that it's a lot like the Ocos, so I don't mean it's a copy of the Ocos. It's a lot like the Ocos. It's made by Boss. So I have several of my presets loaded here. So let's load one in. As you can see, it's a simple patch. This one is. You choose your scale to go with the song. So we just generated a C minor pattern. You can set your mutations. Now, mutations are note order, changes in note order, the number of accents, and then how many, every now and then it'll skip a step. I like to put that pretty high, just to get a lot of randomness in there. And once you're in here, you can manipulate it just like any other modular, which makes for interesting things that can happen live in the show. So we got this going. We have Refraktions in the background, as you can hear, still evolving. I can still give it more commands as to how to evolve. Then we can come into Link. Not Link. We can come into Groovebox. And over here, we have our mixer, so we can make sure everything is Now, let me pull the guitar in and we'll see how this all works together. Alright, so here's the setup. I've got my Digitech and my expression pedal, and I got my iPad right here so that I can control all of my parameters. I can pull up Link and, Groovebox, sorry. play. Let's go back into this though, and guitar is in open G tuning. So let me go over the sounds I have for the guitar. So number one is just kind of a dreamy sound with a volume pedal on it. Number two is the same sound but with some wah. Number three is a little harsher sound. With some wah on it. And number four is near that sound but with volume. Number five is a swell, a very deep octave swell sound. With a volume pedal on it. And pretty much the same sound but now with a wah effect on it. A little bit more of a clean, a little slightly distorted, cleaner sound with a lot of reverb on it. And a wah. And an auto wah sound. And again, just another little bit more natural sound, more normal sound. There you have it. Gonna have fun with this show. It's gonna be an improvisation, 20-minute improvisation. little setup for the performance. You know what? Do what you like. Find something that works and then work with it. Don't let other people gear shame you or tell you you're doing it wrong. Just make music. Make it your way and make it fun. That's what it's all about. Cheers.